The opinion with Michael J. Let's be clear, folks. The topic today is Danielle Smith. And let's face it, Danielle Smith is a separatist. Now, Alberta's sovereignty within the United Canada Act came into being. It was passed December 8th, 2022. She became Premier less than 2 months later, October 11, 2022. So, what is a sovereignty within the United Canada Act? It's a real twist on words. So let's look at sovereignty and what that means. So Alberta's sovereignty means supreme power, especially over a body politic, freedom from external control, and controlling influence. One that is sovereign, especially an autonomous state. So let's understand what that means. Now, the party that she originally was in was the Wild Rose Party. And then when Jason Kenney stepped down, she became a leader of the UCP. I believe that's United Conservative Party. Correct me if I'm wrong. But nonetheless, we'll just say UCP for short. So, you're going to hear this right from her right here. I don't have to tell you. She says it. She's a separatist. But she does say doublespeak. It's all doublespeak. Alberta Premier Smith on separation referendum. My job is to make sure it doesn't get to yes. Well, that's a load of crap. Because the Alberta Sovereignty Within the United Canada Act was passed by her government less than 2 months after being elected. So it's the first thing on the agenda. Simple as that. Simple as that. Take it away, folks.
That I do not support separation. I support Alberta sovereignty within a united Canada. That's what our party supports as well as in our state.
I support Alberta's sovereignty within a united Canada. She's stating right there, I'm a separatist. She supports Alberta's sovereignty. Doesn't matter how you want to sugarcoat it. Within a united Canada? In other words, within a united Canada makes no friggin' it's no concern of hers. That's just doublespeak. She says I support Alberta's sovereignty. Made it clear, first thing she put through the agenda as soon as she became Premier.
Statement of principles is what my caucus supports, and that's my mark.
Okay. That is what our party supports as well. So, her whole party supports this. I support Alberta's sovereignty. That is what our party supports as well. It is in our statement of principles. She says it word for word.
Marching orders is to do what we can to make sure
that is my marching orders, to do what I can
that our autonomy is respected, the Constitution is respected.
Make sure our autonomy is respected, Constitution is respected. Whose Constitution? One of Canada?
These damaging policies are removed, and I think we can end up with a deal that works not only for Alberta but for the entire country.
So do I take that even if the vote is yes, that you would not pursue separation in your capacity as Premier?
My job is to make sure it doesn't get to yes. My job is to make sure...
Hold on. If your job is to make sure it doesn't come to a yes, then why, when you were voted in, you took your seat October 11, 2022, you passed first reading, and I actually had the Alberta Sovereignty Within a United Canada Act in effect December 8th, 2022. So, Danielle, be honest with yourself, be honest with us. Now, furthermore, let's look at this. What do you say? What are we going to look at? Breitbart, March 8th, 2025. Met a guy down in the United States, Breitbart, on the record. Take it away, Danielle.
When there is an eventual election here, right? Like, so I don't know if it'll be now or in October or somewhere in between there, but we'll see. But the point is that I would think that you would support a conservative prime minister in Canada. You're one of the few conservative premiers in Canada. One would think that a conservative prime minister would probably have a better time working with President Trump on these things, and it wouldn't be as tumultuous as what we're seeing right now. Is that something that you think is likely here? Are the Canadian people ready to go back the other way here and go away from the Liberal side that we've seen under Trudeau and whoever replaces him?
Before the tariff war, I would say yes. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is the name of the Conservative Party leader, and he was miles ahead of Justin Trudeau. But because of the what we see as unjust and unfair tariffs, it's actually caused an increase in the support for the Liberals. And so that's what I fear, is that the longer this dispute goes on, politicians posture, and it seems to be benefiting the Liberals right now. So I would hope that we could put things on pause. This is what I've told administration officials. Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election. Let's have the best person at the table make the argument for how they would deal with it. And I think that's Pierre Poilievre. And I do agree with you.
She states unequivocally she thinks Pierre Poilievre is the best person to be at the table meeting with Donald Trump. It's right there, right on the record. She just spoke it.
That if we do have Pierre as our prime minister, then I think that there's a number of things that we could do together. Pierre believes in development. He believes in low cost energy. He believes that we need to have low taxes. Doesn't believe in any of the woke stuff that we've seen taking over our politics for the last 5 years. So I would think that there's probably still always going.
Doesn't believe in woke stuff. Woke stuff's got to go also. So now there's a by-election in Alberta for a federal seat for Pierre Poilievre. Preston Manning, just before the election, said Alberta separate. Pierre Poilievre, a rebuke of his principles and what he stands for by his riding of 20 years in Carleton, Ottawa, losing by over 4,300 votes. Now he's going into a safe riding in a separatist-led province. It's as simple as that, folks.
To be areas that are skirmishes or disputes about particular industries when it comes to the border, but I would say on balance, the perspective that Pierre would bring would be very much in sync with, I think, where the new direction in America, and I think we'd have a really great relationship for the period of time they're both in.
Mm-hmm. So President Trump keeps saying Canada is going to be the 51st state. I don't know how much of that is a joke and how much of it's serious. Is that something that the Canadians are open to joining the United States down the road or something like that? Talk to us about that. Like, lay out for us, like, is there any seriousness to any of this? Is there, is Canada ready to pack up and join the United States, or is that just Trump being Trump?
Well, I can maybe give a history lesson because I know that the president likes President McKinley, and this was the last time that they tried to use tariffs to be able to annex Canada. So McKinley brought in a series of tariffs in 1890, and what happened was a counter revolution that happened in Canada. Our prime minister at the time, John A. Macdonald, said, we want to stay Canadian. Let's build a major national nation-building project, which was the Canadian Pacific Rail Line, and it made Canada stronger than ever.
And it got John A. Macdonald kicked out of Canada for 5 years because after a fire in his office, it was found that there was evidence that he took payoffs to award the CN rail contract. That's a fact, folks. You blaming Justin Trudeau, you blame the Liberals, but conservatives are first to the honeypot, or so it seems.
And in the United States, 2 years later, McKinley lost the midterms to the Democrats. So I don't know if that's the pathway that we're going to go down, but I can tell you the first part is happening. Canadians are now talking about how do we build more pipelines, more transmission lines? How do we get more of our critical minerals to new markets? How do we act as a country trading more with each other than we do with our southern neighbors? So I think it's having the exact opposite impact that the president intended. And the longer it goes on, if you start establishing new trade ties, some of those end up being ties that bind. We've got really strong ties that bind with the United States right now, and I don't want to see those severed. So I hope we can get over this rough patch that we have sooner rather than later.
Right, and one of the things we did see from President Trump's first term was the USMCA, right? Like, which was, they got rid of NAFTA and they brought in the USMCA, which really all sides seemed to really like, right? Like, so that was arguably one of Trump's biggest successes in his first term. So is the hope that we get back to that relationship that existed under the USMCA and start focusing on other places where we can agree beyond that?
I would hope so. I know that the president was very proud of that in his first term. I think America has slightly different issues with Mexico than they do with Canada. I think in some ways it's easier to get a trade agreement with Canada because we have already matched the U.S. administration's approach to making sure China is not used.
USMCA is not to be renegotiated until 2026. No point in renegotiating it.
Using Canada as a backdoor to get steel and aluminum into the United States or as a backdoor to start hollowing out the manufacturing sector. We have that same problem as well, whereas I think Mexico has a little bit more work to do in that regard. But if we can get back to 97% tariff-free relationship, there's a few issues. We've got supply managed industries in dairy and eggs and chickens that I know are a bit of an irritant to the United States. I know they're irritated with our digital services tax. They seem to want to address the issue around the auto sector a little bit more. So there's probably some areas where we're going to have to do some detailed negotiation. But I would say our aspiration would hopefully be to be back to that virtually tariff-free relationship with the United States.
Right, and Premier, the last thing I would ask you about here is that, okay, so we're talking about all this stuff with regard to trade and the tariffs and so on and so forth, but what is it that the Conservatives in Canada do want to talk about, right? Like that will lead to, a situation where Pierre can win the prime ministership later this year.
Well, that's the end of my recording of the Breitbart. March 8th, 2025, where Danielle Smith missed two premiers' meetings, did them virtually, down in the States, drumming up business, trying to work over Trump and Mar-a-Lago, as well as Kevin O'Leary there, Jordan B. Peterson there. Like, let's face it, this gal, let me be clear, Danielle Smith is a separatist, just like LeBlanc is. Probably more so. At least LeBlanc said he's going to put it aside. He won't put the pipelines aside. He doesn't want any going through Quebec. So you got to go west with those pipelines for a starter there, Miss Smith. And she did state, I support Alberta. These are her words, verbatim. I support Alberta's sovereignty with a united Canada. With a united Canada. Not but united Canada must be united. No, with. Which, depending on how you want to do legalese, means diddly squat about United Canada, because the sovereignty issue is the clear aspect of the whole friggin' act. Alberta's sovereignty within a United Canada Act, December 8, 2022. First thing on the agenda. And she further stated verbatim, that is what our party supports as well. She's the head of the UCP. That is what her party supports as well. And further states, that is what our caucus supports. So top to bottom, This girl's a separatist, and everybody she's got in her caucus is a separatist. She claims, and this is verbatim, and I put the end part in, that is my marching orders to do what I can to make sure our autonomy is respected. So, autonomy and sovereignty. Those are the two key words you need to focus on. Just get rid of the other noise because it's just noise. Focus on the sovereignty and the autonomy. So there you go. We're going to leave it at that. Questions, comments, throw in chat. Remember, when you're being misled with fiction as fact, which creates anxiety, which makes you spiral out of control, take a few deep breaths. Let it go, sleep on it, revisit it the following day. Love and peace to everybody. Take care. Talk to you soon. Ciao for now.